Hello, welcome back to part 2 of New Forest Morphs daily blog. Thank you, Mandy, for going the second half an hour with me. Appreciate it. So we promised in the last part 1 that we're going to talk about service and how it relates to ball pythons, but before we do that I just wanted to give you an update on the eggs, because this morning I came in and I found that there's 6 eggs that are in the incubator at the moment. Jad and I counted them a couple of days ago, and there was one egg that didn't seem to have very many veins in it, and I noticed this morning as I was inspecting them there was a speck of mould on the egg without the veins. So I've used a cotton bud to remove the mould, and I've covered it with that spot with a little bit of athlete's foot powder, just to try and keep that mould at bay. And also, last year we had an experience where one egg was not fertile and it went completely mouldy very quickly, but it didn't affect the other ones. It didn't even spread onto the other ones, even though they were joined. So I know Jared was struggling to separate that egg, and he thought it might be wise to separate it just in case, but I'm going to keep my eye on it, and I'm going to keep treating it to see if where it goes really. But we may have to end up removing it from the other eggs, so we'll see where that goes. So coming back to service, in the news this week there was something that really touched me. It was Harry and Meghan. I don't know if you've been aware of that, Mandy, but they've Harry was trying to do a deal with the Queen, I think, saying that although they want their autonomy and independence from their role in with the Queen, they still want to carry on servicing all the charitable organisations that they love. In fact, Harry set up a charity for mental health issues for children back in 2006. He did it jointly. He's a joint founder with two princes, Prince Harry and Prince Ciesio. They founded this charity called Senate Bell, which basically focuses on the mental health of children. Now, if you think about Harry's upbringing and what he had to go through with Diana, his mother, and everyone's familiar with the story of Diana, Princess of Wales, what she had to go through. She was harassed by the press. Her life was an absolute, started off well, but obviously she could not handle the establishment of the way in which the royal family was set up. She called them the establishment, and she found it really hard. She couldn't be a free agent. She just felt like she was in a straitjacket. And when you've got an artistic person that's very free-spirited, the last thing you do to someone like that is put them in a straitjacket and expect them to toe the line on everything, because that is the hardest thing. And I'm very free-spirited, as you know, man. If anyone tries to pin me down, I mean, all hell breaks loose. But you know, all of us have got the freedom to choose and the free will. All of us. Some stronger than others. But I'm like what they call those horses out on the American prairies that they go round up and a Mustang. Yeah, I'm like a Mustang. I'm a free-spirited Italian stallion that always does better with free space, and that's why I love YouTube and I love this, because I can express my opinions, express my views and thoughts, and that's the beauty of YouTube. And it isn't necessarily right, and I will get it wrong sometimes, but I know when I do, I apologise. But I just love the fact that the YouTube allows us that freedom of speech. And I actually think, this is my feeling about the interview that Prince Harry gave. I was really touched by it, and I take my hat off to him for being courageous with such a strong establishment showing a different perspective on his life. And I value what the Queen has done. She's a woman of great high moral fibre, and she's a very good example of dutiful service, and she's had to step up if you study her background. But I also think there's a balance to be had between service, which is a free gift, which all of us can do, and serving with recognition, which is like having titles. Like Harry's been stripped of all his titles and his military titles. He's been stripped of them all because they've decided to break away more independently and to live in I'm not sure which country they're in now, but they're somewhere in America, aren't they,
California.
Is it California? And I think they've done it mainly because of the harassment of the press. Again, I mean, what the press forget, and normally I like freedom of speech on the press, but unfortunately the press hound people, and they do it to sell papers and they do it for money, and I hate it. I hate that side of the press. And what they forget is Harry is being tortured by the loss of his mother, which he believes is driven by the press. And Therefore, he's got a massive psychological thing going on inside him, which is like anything that attacks him, his wife, his family on the press side, it cuts deeply into his emotional well-being, because he's already lost his mum as a tender little boy. So I want the press to listen to me and say, back off, leave these people alone and let them get on with their lives, and you'll actually get more by being more supportive than you would hounding them. And all the photographers out there that go and hound people, get off your bikes, look at yourselves, examine yourselves. You're causing many painful experiences for people for your pay packet, your commission, and your editors that put you under a lot of pressure to produce these stories. Get a life, get some ethics, and get some moral fibre up your backside, because I hate the way you guys go about doing things. It really does. I'm having a rant now. You don't often see this, but it really, really annoys me. And I think the government should take action, actually. I think they should take much stronger action against people that are interfering with people's personal lives. Now, anyway, I've got that off my chest now. Many of you might feel the same way as me, but I've got a passion for this. But anyway, I'm actually going to come down on Harry's side and Meghan's side here. I mean, I'm a respecter of democracy, and I'm a respecter of the monarchy. But I know when things are being pushed too hard, and in this case, I think it's been way over pushed. And you mustn't ever push anyone into service. It's a natural, loving, caring thing that comes from within the soul. So, of course, when they were stripped of all their royalties and all the rest of it, and their privileges and their finances and everything else, and they had to stand alone now, which I actually think is a very good thing. They'll be better off on their own, and they'll do better. And I think it's short-sightedness, because when they had the royal marriage, billions and billions of pounds of revenue came into the exchequer and to the businesses over here. The amount of people that were spending money on the wedding stuff was amazing. And okay, it cost a lot of money, but it was peanuts compared to what this wealth came into our country. Absolute peanuts. This is so short-sightedness of whoever's doing all this. They basically almost exiled two very precious people from our country. And that's strong words, and it's going to cost this country a lot in lost revenues, not just on the emotional and the feeling, heartfelt feelings I have. It's a bad move, very, very bad move. But I reckon Harry and Meghan will do very well without the establishment behind them, and I reckon they'll shine like true princes and princesses, because in each of us there's royalty anyway. We all are children of our Heavenly Father. And that's where love and service comes in for me. It comes from within. You don't need to have a title or a dutiful calling to be a servant. You can serve as faithfully as anyone else on this planet without the titles and without all that. So my hat goes off to Harry and Meghan for standing up for what they believe to be their values, and I wish them well. And I wish the establishment and the press would learn from this and re-examine what they're doing to make life easier for people. Anyway, rant over. Let's get on with some other more positive stuff here, which is the Prime Minister tomorrow, Mandy, is going to make a big announcement. It's called the Roadmap Back Out of Lockdown, which we're all anticipating. I know you are, because we've got service issues for our own family. We want to get to certain people we can't get to that we want to love, and it's high on Mandy's priorities to show love to her mother. And you know, we're working out plans of how we can do this, and we know that tomorrow when the Prime Minister gets up and announces what he has to announce, it's going to affect exactly what Mandy and I can do for our mother. But we're not going to allow our love to be held back. We're still going to continue to love whatever he announces. There's going to be love coming from us, one shape or form, within a safe environment. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that when we're in the service of one another, we're actually in the service of our God, because we represent his hands and his heart when we serve effectively. So he is very pleased when we lift another soul, or we lift another person, or we help a family member, and we go out of our way to really help people. And today I'm going to go out of my way to share all my top tips for how to serve the community, the ball python community, because I've had 18 months of good and bad experiences here. I've had really, really good breeders that have given me top dollar service, and I've had shocking service as well. So you're going to get a mixture of the two, but I'm going to focus on the positive and give you my own ideas as well. But on this new roadmap, Andy, and the Prime Minister, there's talk about 4 steps he's going to take. I don't know if you know what those 4 steps are, but just to give you a little bit of hope for tomorrow, he's hoping that if all the conditions are right, now the good news is we've got 17 million people vaccinated. We've got 450 average deaths per day, which has come off a height of 2,000. And we've got 10,000 people catching the virus at the moment, which is down off 60, a peak of 60. So everything is moving in the right direction. The curve's coming down, which is great news. The Prime Minister wants this to be the last lockdown. He doesn't want it to be a repeat of lockdown. He thinks with the vaccines behind us that we can go out safely, but he's cautiously going to open up the economy. And he's going to start, they say, this is the speculation, he thinks that the rule of 6 is going to return, where 6 people can meet outside, or you can have a friend you can sit on the bench and talk to, and there'll be more social engagement going on here. So that's what's one of the top tips, is they reckon that will open up. Not in the homes, but in the open spaces, which for many people will be great. Just going for a walk with a friend that you can see for a while would be a lovely thing to do. Sit down and have a chat on the bench without being judged would be wonderful, as long as it's safe. Number 2, he thinks on the 8th of March, younger kids might have the chance to go back to school, so that the parents can go back to work, and then there can be some form of normality. Now that's a good thing, as long as it's done safely and the teachers are ready. And then they think they're going to open up the secondary education later and gently phase it in. So I think that's a really good thing, providing it's safe. The third thing, he says that he wants everyone to have vaccinations by July in the adult population of 50 and above, because predominantly this COVID issue is mainly for older people. Now if you imagine on 67 million people in the UK, and 50 pluses are all going to be vaccinated from now until July, that means that the chance of someone dying is going to be reduced by about 800, 900%. I mean, it's going to be a very small proportion of the population that are exposed. So that makes it a little bit safer to run the economy and open up. And he's saying that if we can do it by July, there might even be a chance of a holiday in August, which is our 30th wedding anniversary. So for us, if we can fly safely somewhere, Mandy, I'm going to take you somewhere really exotic. I'm not even going to tell you where. It's going to be beautiful and you're going to love it. But I'm hoping that will be the case, and many people out there are dying to go on holidays, so let's hope this all does happen. I'm very optimistic and really feeling positive about all this. And then the fourth thing is, which I think is very important, he's going to allow one person to go and visit their relative in a care home, providing they've got the PPE equipment on them, and they can hold hands. They can't kiss or hug, and they've got to wear masks, but there's going to be a physical contact within the home, which I think is fantastic, if that's safe. So there's the 4 pointers for you. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it all works out well for us tomorrow. But that's a quick brief update on the new roadmap, Mandy. And then the other good news that Mandy gave me today is we've got, still sticking with the theme of service, is that in our church we have a local bishop that he's like the father of the ward. He looks after 200 or 300 members in our local parish. He's been serving for they normally serve for about 5 years, and I think our bishop has probably served for at least 5 years, if not longer, and he's due a change really, because he's a businessman. There's no paid ministry in our church, and everyone that serves in the church doesn't get paid. It's all done from the heart, which makes it so beautiful. It's imperfect, but that's the reality of life when we're serving one another. God doesn't choose perfect people to serve him. He chooses us, imperfect people, to represent him, because it's the representation of him that makes us more perfect. And so in the gospel you often have fallouts, you have disputes, you have arguments, you have bad leadership, good leadership, and I'm very sensitive to good leadership, and I love good leadership. I find it really hard and frustrating when I see bad leadership, and I've seen my share of that. But I've got to be careful not to judge, because we're all volunteers in the kingdom and we will try our best, and I'm trying to forgive those that have offended me and upset me in the past. But I'm really pleased to say, I want to say thank you to Andrew, Alan and Nick, my nephew, who served on the bishopric for a good few years, and all the other people that have served on the bishopric prior to them, to say thank you, because your service has been very valuable. It's helped our family no end and helped us. But I also want to congratulate and give my love and support to the new bishopric, which is Matthew and Stephen and I believe Ian. And they're all good friends of mine actually, which I'm quite pleased about, because I really do need a sensitive friend-based leadership at the moment to help me on my journey, because I'm ministering in a different way. I'm a bit like Harry and Meghan at the moment. I've kind of broken away from the establishment to serve in a different way, because I didn't quite agree with the establishment. But, I love the church. I just struggle sometimes with leadership styles, and it really gets me down when I see things not working the way they should. But despite that, it doesn't stop us from loving and serving, and I've tried so hard to love and serve irrespective of the fallouts. So that's enough of me. We need to get on to how to serve our communities, don't we, man? How much time have we got on the ticker?
halfway.
Oh, we're halfway there. There we go. Well, that's a nice little preamble. And I'm going to give you my best ideas of how we can build up a really good 5-star service when it comes to ball python business. So the first thing always is quality in, quality out. The best thing you can do for your customers is to buy the best animals you can and breed them as well as you can. Give them the best husbandry and produce the most beautiful snakes, because your best marketing is always the snakes. So that'll be my number one tip, is focus on quality, focus on energy, put what you can, give them the love and attention to your snakes, because if you do that, you're much more likely to give love and attention to the customers because of your nature. So there's number one tip. Communicate freely, lovingly, and build a friendship with all the people in the community before you make the sale. And this is what we're doing with our YouTube channel. Have a care sheet available, or in our case we've got a how to care program on our playlist YouTube. So we've got about 12 videos that show how to set up, how to care for animals. We want people who buy our snakes to know what they're doing when they actually take them home from here. You can have a website, a YouTube channel, an Instagram or Facebook account. You don't have to go full blown out on YouTube videos, and this is just for those people that really want to do it. You can be so successful with a website or with your Instagram, you don't need to have YouTube, but I think it's great and I love it. Okay, number two. When you're going to pick up a snake, I'd always recommend going to the facility and picking it up, and you choosing the snake and the snake choosing you. So it's a bit like what's that film that we used to watch, Mandy, with Avatar? Do you remember Avatar? When you're picking your animal to ride on train, or your dragon or whatever it was. Do you remember they had to pick an animal? Or am I thinking of two different films? I can't remember now. But you have to have your hair connect with their hair. There's like a bond. So my top tip is when you're serving your community outside of lockdown, and if you feel safe and the people respect your hygiene and come clean and prepared, invite the family or the individual into your facility and let them handle a snake or two. Let them bond with the snake and let them really fall in love with the snake rather than just fall in love with the picture. That would be the ideal. But I understand when you're buying long distance, you rely on pictures, you rely on videos, and if you're going to go long term buying and selling, then I would say make sure you have a video of it eating, video of the parents, have that available for them. You can just send them a link so they can get the same kind of feel for the animal in the facility. That would be a good part of the top tip for a 5-star service. I've had that with Marco at VHBP. He's a beautiful example of 5-star service, and I thank you for being one of my first purchases because you showed me how it should be done. The level of love and detail that he puts into a sale and how I feel as a customer is second to none. He made me feel like top of the world, brand new person coming in. He made me feel so special, and he did everything he could to respond to my needs, and every question I asked him he was more than willing to give me answers, and he went over and beyond. He sent me video footage of, because he was showing me that they will eat frozen food, and he showed me how he got them onto frozen food, and that was one of my concerns, and he showed me a video of them actually nailing it. And all the snakes that he's given us, they're already breeding and they're already getting big. I mean, the Desert Ghost Enchies are just already in the breeding cycle, and I didn't expect that till next year because he's raised them well, he's given me quality, he gave me 300 or 400 gram animals that were already feeding well, and Jared and I just took them to the next level really quickly, and I said thank you very much. I mean, that's the kind of love and service I love. So there's an example of how we can give a 5-star service. Now, excellent packaging, excellent delivery services are all part and parcel of this. So I believe it's our responsibility as the people that are selling to organise all the paperwork, to organise all the delivery logistics, to organise the right couriers, high end if you're going to use them, to have really good high standards, that you can trust that they can deliver that snake to you within a day if possible. If not, if it has to be from Europe and it might take a few days, to make sure they've got heated vehicles that keep the heat correct, that they've got policies for making sure that every snake that goes into their vehicles is mite and virus free, and that you know that that snake's going to arrive as good as it left your facility, then I think that's fine. So it's up to us to put any problems we put right down to us. Don't ever blame it on the customer or the courier company. It's always got to be us taking responsibility. Even if the courier company messes up, we take responsibility for that because we organised it. So that's my take on a 5-star service so far. The other thing is to watch out for is real-time shipping. Now, the new technology nowadays is that you can go on an app on your phone, you can see where your animal is at any one particular time, and good couriers will have a real-time shipping service that you know where that snake is. So if there's a hold-up or there's a problem, If it's cold weather, you can put a signal out to the shippers to say keep them on heat, so we don't end up with a situation where snakes come cold. I've had snakes from Europe come cold. One snake, Queenie, that came cold, which I wasn't happy about. And now she's not breeding for me, and she's just come into the collection. And she should have really gone this year, and now I'm going to have to wait another year and get her back to health and strength. And hopefully she'll respond to my love and attention. But if the couriers would have done their job, or the person that sold it to me done a good job, I wouldn't be in this situation. So I'm giving you feedback as a customer now that I wasn't happy with that, and when I spoke to the guy that shipped it, he wouldn't take responsibility, pass the buck. So to me, he's a flipper, he won't get any more business from me. Simple as that. So it pays to make sure you're in control of these systems, otherwise you're going to lose good customers. Now, the other thing that's most important is make sure your snakes are healthy before you sell them, and that there's health right throughout your collection. Make sure that your snakes are feeding well, they're virus free, and even consider having a vet give them a check before they go, if you're worried about them in any way. So some people do veterinary checks before they sell. Now, Brian Barczyk, I was watching his video the other night, and he was saying that it will come a time, and this is part of my 5-star approach to service, where every single snake that's sold in our community will have to have a stamp saying it's virus free. Now, the virus that really worries us in the ball python community is the nidovirus, which can lead to death, and it's a hidden virus that can be in a snake and may not feature for 2 or 3 years down the line. But you can have swab tests, and you can find out within 3 days whether that snake's clean. So the way this industry is going to go, this is my top tip for where we're going in the future, is that each of us as breeders will have a responsibility to spend £100 per snake to have a virus check done, swab test. And then before we're allowed to sell that snake, you've got to go with a certificate. So we're going to learn from this COVID virus about test and trace. And I believe the service will go where there'll be test and trace on every snake. And anyone carrying a snake that has that norovirus will actually be taken out of the market. Eventually, every snake will be free of any virus. And our worry about one virus from one snake going into a massive collection that can wipe it out is suddenly reduced to zero. Now, at the moment, it's £100 to have a swab test done, and you can also have what they call a washed tracheal wash test. That actually they do a wash on the tracheal and they find out from that whether there's any virus in there. Now that takes 3 days, and it's 150 quid at the moment in the UK, $200. If enough of us jump on that one and we all come together as an industry and say what a great idea, Brian Barczyk reckons it will come down to $20 a go and be part and parcel of the sales process. I think it's a great idea. I'd get you, please let me know your views on that, because then we can all operate in a much safer environment. So anyway, that's another thing I think is going to come soon if it hasn't already arrived. Paperwork is down to the shippers, us, people that are selling. We do the paperwork, invoices, delivery notes. And the amount of times I've asked for paperwork from people, can I have an invoice please? And I've got to ask for it. They should be saying, there's your invoice, there's your delivery note. I've got to kind of just like extracting teeth. Some breeders don't even know how to produce an invoice. Now, I'm not judging them because I'm a businessman and I expect paperwork. But anyone out there that's a small hobbyist may not be used to producing paperwork, but please produce it, because that's evidence of purchase. And also, now we're in the European Brexit and US, we need to have certificates of origin, and we need to have other certificates to allow us to ship. So take all the headache away from your customer and take care of it. And so that the customer feels like they're having this beautiful experience of buying a snake without the headache. That's a 5-star service. Offer discounts, free merc. This is what we're doing. So anyone that buys a snake from us normally gets free stickers. They probably get a free t-shirt and hat depending on how much they spend. And you know, with all my promotional work I do, that virtually everyone out there is going to end up with a 25% discount by the time we've finished. But we're going to be very generous in the first few years because we want to establish a place in the market, and we want to, and hopefully we'll be generous going forward, because the way that we're going to build our business is that we can be generous on discounts because of the way in which we're doing things. Aftercare service is essential. So once you've sold your snake, don't think that's the end of the game. No way, it's the beginning. You nurture that relationship. You take emails and calls. You find out how the snake's doing. You offer advice for troubleshooting, particularly newcomers coming in. They need to be guided and carefully steered here. So the aftercare service is, for me, the 5-star approach. Refunds, corrective behaviour are also a very important part of the 5-star treatment. So you're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're going to probably send a snake and it's not going to be perfect for some reason, and it may not suit the person. They may want it to go back, and you've got to be willing to take it back, willing to refund the money, and either offer a solution or do something about it. Now, I've had 2 or 3 people sell me snakes and it's been a nightmare. They've not come back and picked it up. One of them sold me a snake with an issue. He buried his head and went to bed. And in the end, I had to give it to the RSPCA to handle, who recommended it to an expert, and they had the snake, and I got the money back eventually, but that was an appalling service. I've never seen anything like it. So, have a procedure for how you deal with issues, and always remember that the customer's always right, even if they're wrong, if you know what I'm saying. Be diplomatic, but obviously you've got to be fair, and that means that if the customer is taking the biscuit and they've done something bad to the snake and they're trying to pass it back to you, then that's a different issue. Then you've got to hold your ground firmly on that one. But if you've got a situation where general mistakes being made, do your utmost to please that person and put it right, because that information gets into the community. Which then moves me on to a couple other things. Reviews and testimonials. Get some good positive reviews as you build your business, and then allow those reviews to go on your website. Build those testimonials up, because they say that people do check people's websites before they buy. They look at the reviews big time. So that's something we need to look at very carefully in building that. Referral discounts. Offer a discount to someone that refers you to their friend, and thank them. I do that in my other business, so I give discounts to my clients. They introduce clients to me. In fact, I spent very little money on hardcore advertising. All my advertising is done by loving people, and they recommend their friends. It's the best business normally. So referral discounts, as I say, pre-vet checks, and then security. Now, obviously, in this market, these snakes are valuable to us. Some of them could be worth 5 grand. Now, the number of people I know that put microchips into their dogs and cats that are worth about 2,000, they spend 120 quid with a vet and get a microchip put in there. We're not doing it for our snakes for some reason. I don't know why not, but I actually think that's a great 5-star idea. It's going to cost you at the moment 120 quid and then £17 for every time you refresh that chip. But can you imagine if you sold a snake that comes with a vet check, a virus-free check, and a chip? That means that you can electronically, and it doesn't hurt the snake, it's a very small grain of rice size chip that will give you information, a unique number, and it has a tracking device that if anyone wants to steal that snake, you can track it. So I think for security, as the snakes become more valuable to us, we need to start thinking about putting microchips into these snakes. I'd be interested to know what your views are on that. Offering a guarantee is also a good thing as well. You can also supply other things like racks, mats, bedding, hides, rubs, vivs, and all these things, or you can start recommending other things to people. So there's lots of additional services you can add on. And then the last thing I was going to mention is, which is my idea, which is a New Forest snake holiday, where we open up our holiday lets and we open up the pool. Families come down, they enjoy the holiday lets, they jump in the pool, come and have a snake experience. And that is a 5-star service, because you take your time choosing your snake, but you get to know the family, and we eat together, we build a friendship together. I couldn't think of anything nicer. Now Mandy runs the holiday let, so I haven't even put this through Mandy. She's smiling at me at the moment, thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that one. But this is my idea, and I've already promised a couple of families that they can come down and use our holiday let for the weekends, Mandy. I haven't told you about that, but that's another thing. And I'll extend that to when we can travel. I'll organise worldwide holidays where groups of us go to all the shows, book into hotels, and we have a really good time. We enjoy the snakes, enjoy each other, and we go around the world visiting all our friends. So thank you very much. They're my 5 top tips, Mandy. 5-star top tips. What are your thoughts, man? Are you smiling?
Add on that.
Yeah. Anyway, sending you lots of love from New Forest Morphs. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Jared will be back hopefully, and we shall see you tomorrow. Bye bye for now.